talk.
More action.
Cheez TV.
7 a.m. weekdays.
Spread it around.
Australian 1990s and 2000s nostalgia presents The History of Cheez TV. Part 1, 1995 to 1996, the early years. Cheez TV was a 90-minute Australian rapper show created by Bill McQueen. Remember, if you like this video, please subscribe to support our small channel and like the video. Australian millennials grew up in the golden age of morning cartoon television, which no longer exists in any form in the modern age of free-to-air television in Australia, which kids hardly watch as it is today. You see the influence of 90s and 2000s cartoons to this day, especially in cinema, with many big blockbusters influenced directly from the 90s cartoons of yesteryear. Agro's Cartoon Connection is the leader in children's TV in Australia in the early 1990s. His attitude and cheekiness behaviour resonate with 90s kids, and he quickly becomes the Krusty the Clown of Australian kids' TV. Agro's Cartoon Connection started in 1990. It starred a puppet named Agro with various mature female presenters over the years, including Anne-Marie Bigger, Teresa Livingstone and Holly Brisley. Through the early 90s, Agro's Cartoon Connection proved insanely popular in Australia. He showed up for Christmas carols, telethons, also got his own show bag range and had junk food advertising deals and licensed toys. Agro's Cartoon Connection shows on the 7 Network and its affiliates. Rival commercial channel, Network 10, launched its own children's show in 1992, The Big Breakfast, hosted by Tim Bailey, unrelated to the later Channel 7 show of the same name. Although The Big Breakfast shows edgier, more modern cartoons, it fails to achieve the same rating success as Agro. By June 1995, Channel 10 announced a new children's TV show, Cheez TV, and that it was looking for hosts. Jade Gatt, 16, and Ryan Lappin, 13, were chosen from a group of 70 people who applied. At this point, both of them had only had minor roles on television, adverts and movies, and both were aspiring young child actors. Jade Gatt recently had a part in the movie Billy's Holiday, and Ryan Lappin was about to make a guest appearance in Heartbreak High. In 1997, the Sydney Morning Herald reported that 11 years of traipsing the audition circuit for commercials and bit parts gave Jade Gatt the edge and the reason why producers chose him. Ryan stated in an interview that
What all started was I first read it in a newspaper article that they wanted very young, teenagers to host this new kids show.
Yeah.
And my mum said, "Oh, you should get your agent on to that." And it was really funny because we knew each other because we went to the same school. We went to Pittwater High, and as soon as we saw each other, we went, "Oh, hey, how you doing, man? Yeah, great." And they were sending us down in pairs of 2 to the audition room. And Jade was very cheeky, but I'm really glad he did this because there was a TV monitor in wardrobe where we were all getting, changed. And he went up to the TV and started changing the channels. And then it went on to what the kids downstairs in the audition room were doing.
It was the open camera feed from the studio they were doing auditions in. So I was like, well.
Yeah, so we started looking at them and sort of seeing how they were doing, and a lot of them were trying to take the attention away from each other, and they weren't working together.
And talking over each other.
Yeah, and we came up with a bit of a plan, you see, and it worked.
The rest is history.
The rest is history, yeah.
Sneaking in right on time. Only one thing on our minds. Through the door to another reality. Any place, anywhere you want to be. Cheez TV.
Cheez TV debuts on the 10th of July 1995.
Look at this stuff. Check it out. Sydney Kings basketball. Hey. Mate, look at this. Check this out. That's Sydney Kings basketball. Never mind that. Look at that. Hi, Mum. Hey, Dad.
The initial premise behind Cheez TV was that two young kids were sneaking into Channel 10 to host their own kids' cartoon show, where they got to pick the cartoons, going for a very different vibe and feel to Agro's Cartoon Connection, emphasising the youth hosting the program. This kids' pirate TV show concept was emphasised during its introduction sequences in early seasons and the lyrics of the introduction theme song. There was also a running gag about sneaking past the security guards during segments too. There was also a bigger focus on more cartoons. Agro would only show 2 cartoons between 7 a.m. and 8:30 a.m, with less time on cartoons and more time in the studio for various segments that included a lot of promotional segments. Cheez TV would show 3 cartoons in the same amount of time. One of the slogans of the show was, "Less talk, more action, Cheez TV." Cheez TV quickly launched a website in 1995 and historically became the first TV show in Australia to get its own dedicated internet page. By this point, the content on Agro's Cartoon Connection was mostly old repeats, with one person even writing into the Sydney Morning Herald, claiming they hadn't shown any new shows since the first run of Pizza Cats in 1992. The more modern shows, the chemistry between Jade and Ryan and the more youthful hosts proved to be successful, and Cheez TV takes off. The first 3 shows, part of its lineup in July and August 1995, were Garfield, Techno Man and Exo Squad.
Jade's out there being chased by a security guard who looks like Bert Newton. Oh,
You sure of that?
Yes, I'm sure of that.
You sure of that?
Yes! Well, don't worry, I'm in control. We've got a heck of a show for you today. We've got X-Men, we've got Techno Man, and our favourite fat cat,
Garfield needs no
Yes,
introduction.
and we've got a competition.
The animated show was shown in the USA between 1988 and 1994 and is shown on 10 in Australia from the late 80s too. Techno Man, known internationally as Tekkaman Blade, is a 1992 Japanese anime television series produced by Tatsunoko Production and Sotsu Agency. The story follows an organisation called the Space Knights and their war against aliens known as the Radam. The Space Knights are assisted by Takaya Aiba, who can transform into an armoured warrior known as Tekkaman Blade. In 1995, the series was dubbed in English by Seiban Entertainment. Techno Man is a first-run new debut show for Cheez TV. Exo Squad was a United States-produced cartoon, first aired there between 1993 and 1994. The show is set at the beginning of the 22nd century and covers the interplanetary war between humanity and Neo-Sapiens, a fictional race artificially created as workers and slaves for the Terrans. The narrative generally follows Able Squad, an elite Terran unit of exo-frame pilots, on their missions all over the solar system. Exo Squad debuted in October 1994 in Australia, before late joining the Cheez TV lineup for its launch. In September 1995, the lineup changed to Garfield, Transformers Next Generation and X-Men. Then, in November 1995, it changed to Garfield, Cops and Biker Mice from Mars, and by the end of 1995 during December, Dungeons & Dragons replaced Garfield.
With a great cartoon to start.
An old favourite.
Relax. An old favourite?
Yep.
Transformers.
Generation 2.
Transformers Next Generation 2 was a re-edited and recycled version of the 1980s original version of Transformers. This new version had new computer-animated cutscenes and transitions added to the 80s cartoon. It was presented as though they were recordings of historical events by the Cybernet Space Cube. It was one of the first cartoons to feature computer animation. In November 1995, the Cheez TV lineup changed to Garfield, Cops and Biker Mice from Mars. Cops, which stood for Central Organisation of Police Specialists, was a 1988 United States cartoon that had already been shown on Channel 10 through the 1990s. The series focuses on a team of highly trained police officers tasked with protecting the fictional Empire City from a group of gangsters led by the Big Boss. Biker Mice from Mars was a 1993 to 1996 United States cartoon that first premiered in Australia in January 1994 on The Big Breakfast, and the series continues on Cheez TV. The show follows three mice motorcyclists named Throttle, Modo and Vinny, who escape a war on their home planet, Mars, before arriving to rebel on the Earth against the species that destroyed their homeland, the Plutarchians, and one day return to Mars. By the end of 1995, during December, Dungeons & Dragons replaced Garfield. Dungeons & Dragons was a United States cartoon produced between 1985 and 1988 and first shown in December 1993 in Australia. The cartoon is based on the popular role-playing board game franchise and focuses on a group of 6 friends who are transported into the realm of Dungeons & Dragons, following their adventures as they try to find a way home with the help of their guide, the Dungeon Master, while combating an evil wizard. Most of Cheez TV's early cartoon programs were recycled from Tim Bailey's The Big Breakfast and Ten's Weekend Children's TV lineup. However, with a relaunch and new hosts, most shows gathered a whole new audience. In the middle of January 1996, Creepy Crawlers replaced Dungeons & Dragons in the 7 a.m. slot. In the final weeks of January, The Adventures of T-Rex replaced Cops in the 7:30 a.m. slot, and Conan the Adventurer replaced Biker Mice from Mars in the 8 a.m. slot. Creepy Crawlers was a United States cartoon shown between 1994 and 1996 there. The show is about Chris Carter, a self-described normal kid who is interested in magic. While working at the magic shop, Chris designed and built a device he called the Magic Maker. The magical millennium moment rained down cosmic energies on the shop one fateful night, which somehow made the Magic Maker capable of creating strange mutant creatures. It is an obscure Cheez TV cartoon and was only shown for 6 weeks before being replaced and never shown again. The Adventures of T-Rex was a United States and Japan co-produced cartoon, shown in the United States between 1992 and 1993. The show features 5 musical Tyrannosaurus brothers who played for the Dragon Company. The band members were also secretly fighting crime as T-Rex, masterminded by Professor Edison. It was a recycled show that was first shown in 1993 in Australia. Conan the Adventurer was a 1992 to 1993 United States cartoon. It was first shown on Channel 10 in Australia in 1994, often before Sonic. It is a cartoon adaptation of Conan the Barbarian. During the second week of February 1996, Eek the Cat and the Terrible Thunder Lizards replaced the 7 a.m. show Creepy Crawler. Eek! The cat revolves around the misadventures of a jolly purple cat named Eek, who lives in the fictitious city of Metropolis. His motto is, "It never hurts to help," an attitude that generally gets him into trouble, from which much of the physical and visual humour of the show is derived. Initially, most of the humour centred around Eek's various injuries during his attempts to help or save another character. Eek the Cat started on The Big Breakfast before moving to Cheez TV. The Terrible Thunder Lizards was a segment during Eek the Cat. The series chronicles the misadventures of a trio of dinosaur mercenaries released from incarceration after they were falsely accused of helping an enemy thugosaur in a time of war when they actually found it injured. They are charged by General Galapagos with the task of eliminating 2 primitive human beings after scientists realize that if humanity is allowed to multiply, it will mean the end of dinosaur supremacy. Despite their superior size and firepower and the obliviousness of their targets, the mercenaries always fail to kill the humans with comic results. Later seasons also feature another segment called Clutter. Clutter is a pet made from a pile of clothes from Static Electricity by Ryan and Wade Heap, who aren't allowed pets. Clutter is portrayed mostly as a dog in nature, mainly due to his habit of licking other characters' faces. Towards the end of March 1996, Transformers Generation 2 returned and replaced Eek the Cat in the 7 a.m. slot, with T-Rex Adventures and Conan still being shown. From this point onwards, both Biker Mice from Mars and Eek are regularly repeated yearly for most of Cheez TV's run. From the second week of April 1996, Cheez Tales from the Crypt replaced T-Rex for the 7:30 a.m. slot, and also bringing back Technoman to replace Conan for the third time slot. Tales from the Crypt is a Canadian-made cartoon shown in the USA between 1993 and 1994. It's based on a 1950s comic and details the Crypt Keeper telling kid-friendly horror stories to the viewers, each with a teachable lesson. In the second week of April 1996, the classic cartoon Doug joins the Cheez TV lineup, replacing the 7 a.m. slot of Transformers. The ownership of Doug changes hands in the late 90s in America and ironically eventually joined the Saturday Disney Australia lineup. Doug is a cartoon sitcom focusing on the character Doug growing up. The series revolves around Douglas "Doug" Funny, an 11-year-old boy who keeps a journal which he treats as an autobiography as he records numerous experiences over the series which range from learning to dance to getting a bad haircut. Midway through May 1996, Cheez TV introduced a Friday-only show for the first time, with new episodes of Spider-Man only showing on Friday mornings instead of Doug in the 7 a.m. time slot. The Friday-only show is a tradition that will continue throughout Cheez TV's television run. Spider-Man was a relatively list of repeating shows of Cheez TV. X-Men had been shown on Channel 10 Breakfast TV since 1993, with new episodes produced up until 1997. Halfway through June 1996, Monster Force replaced Technoman in the 8 a.m. time slot, which had now been showing for 2 months. Monster Force was a United States and Canadian 1994 cartoon, with only 13 episodes made. The story is set in approximately in the year 2020 and centres on a group of teenagers who, with help of high-tech weaponry, fight off against monsters threatening humanity. Monster Force was a network repeat first shown on Saturdays in 1995 on Channel 10, and only has a short stint on Cheez TV for a month. The first week of July sees repeats of Jim Henson's Dog City join the Cheez TV lineup, replacing Monster Force, and then the second week of July 1996 also sees a filmed non-cartoon kids show, Fudge, join the lineup in the 7 a.m. slot, replacing Doug. Dog City was a cartoon created by Jim Henson, shown in the United States between 1992 and 1994, and was first shown in 1993 on 10. Dog City focuses on the lives of various dogs and cats that reside in 2 different worlds, a live-action world portrayed by puppets and an animated world. Fudge was similar in concept to Doug, however, was filmed and not a cartoon. A rare thing for Cheez TV that mainly showed cartoons over the years. It aired for 2 seasons in the United States in 1995. It was based on a series of Judy Blume books about a young boy nicknamed Fudge growing up. It is only shown on Cheez for a month and a half before never being shown again. It is also the only show on Cheez TV to receive a C rating, rather than G. The August sees Action Man join the Friday lineup exclusively, taking the 8 a.m. time slot. This UK toy-based cartoon features small live-action clips and is shown alongside Spider-Man once a week on Fridays only. Action Man becomes a prominent figure in Australian children's pop culture. Action Man features as regularly repeated show for the next 3 years. Action Man is a children's animated and live-action television series created by Dick Productions and Bobot Entertainment, shown first in the United States in 1995 and only goes for 1 season. The end of August sees Count Duckula join the weekly Monday to Thursday lineup in the 8 a.m. slot, replacing Dog City, which actually proves to be popular. Count Duckula was also shown in the early 90s during ABC Kids programming, but Cheez TV introduced a whole legion of new fans. Count Duckula becomes one of the most repeated shows throughout Cheez TV's run. Count Duckula is a UK cartoon that was first shown between 1988 and 1993. It debuts on the ABC in Australia in 1989. Many episodes explore the theme that each resurrection creates a new incarnation with little to no memory of its past life. The immediate past incarnation referred to as the current's father. Thus, every incarnation is free to develop its own personality and pursue its own personal interests. The vampire is able to pose as a dreadful dynasty, the Counts of Duckula. The first week of September 1996 saw VR Troopers premiere on Cheez TV in the 7 a.m. Monday to Thursday time slot, replacing Doug, who had returned after the first run of Fudge. September 1996 also saw repeats of the controversial cartoon Ren and Stimpy in the 7:30 a.m. time slot. However, Ren and Stimpy lasted less than 3 weeks on Cheez TV before being replaced with Eek the Cat repeats, no doubt due to parent complaints. VR Troopers is a live-action superhero adventure television series produced and distributed by Saban Entertainment from 1994 to 1996, similar to the popular Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. The show focused on 3 teenagers in their late teens, Ryan Steele, Caitlin Starr, and J.B. Reese, living in the fictional West Coast town of Crossworld City, California. The lineup for the last week of September 1996 until mid-November doesn't change. 7 a.m. for VR Troopers, 7:30 a.m. for Eek the Cat, and 8 a.m. Count Duckula. The only exceptions are Fridays, with Spider-Man still in the Friday 7 a.m. time slot and Action Man still a Friday exclusive in the 8 a.m. time slot. By mid-November 1996, repeats of Spider-Man becomes the 7 a.m. time slot show, replacing VR Troopers, and is now shown Monday to Friday, and this continues until the end of 1996. November 1996 sees Street Sharks join Cheez TV in the 7:30 a.m. time slot, then Count Duckula finishes up the first week of December, replaced by repeats of Dungeons & Dragons. By mid-November 1996, repeats of Spider-Man becomes the 7 a.m. time slot show, replacing VR Troopers, and is now shown Monday to Friday. And this continues until the end of 1996. November 1996 sees Street Sharks join the 7:30 a.m. time slot. Then Count Duckula finishes up the first week of December, replaced by repeats of Dungeons & Dragons. Street Sharks starts its life as a weekend TV show on 10 on Sundays, shown in late 1995 and early 1996, but later moves to Cheez TV. Street Sharks was shown in the United States between 1994 and 1997. Street Sharks feature crime-fighting half-man/half sharks and was followed by a popular toy line. Stay tuned for part 2 of the history of Cheez TV. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for the following years of Cheez TV and the next part, as it soon dominates Australian children's television.